Tales of the Incandescent, Episode 3 of the audiobook format series. Oh wow, how exciting. Yep, Illumination Number 3. He was number 1. In a world where life revolves around a giant magical jar that mysteriously fills each night with life-giving oils, 2 young boys embark on a daring adventure. This is the story of their race to uncover the secret behind their secluded village's great and obscure blessing. As the bright light fades, the scene materializes in the town square on a sunny day. At the center stands a giant, half-empty jar of butter, a focal point of this classical fantasy village. A line of villagers, each holding empty jars, stretches out before it. Overseeing the distribution is a man in a blue constable uniform, standing at a tap located at the bottom of the jar. "Butter, get in line," the uniformed man calls out. "Don't miss daily rations of the life-giving oil of the giant jar." Suddenly, 2 10-year-old boys, Jack and Ben, burst through the line, shoving folks aside. People are startled by their reckless behavior. "I'm gonna win again," Jack shouts gleefully. "You always win, Jack," Ben replies, struggling to keep up. Jack, brimming with confidence, declares, "That's because I'm number 1. The man in uniform, clearly irritated, shakes his fist in the air. "You kids leave people alone, or I'll give you the whoopin' your parents should be giving ya." The villagers in line collectively sigh at the commotion. The scene shifts to an alleyway where the boys stop running to catch their breath. Ben, frustration evident in his voice, says, "I'm sick of you always being number 1, Jack." "Then start beating me," Jack retorts, his competitive spirit undiminished. Ben suggests a race home before dark, but Jack has other ideas. He's been pondering something for days. Looking down the alley toward the giant jar, still visible in the distance, Jack reveals his plan. "I don't understand why nobody is allowed to know how the giant jar gets filled at night." "I want to know." Jack's eyes sparkle with mischief. "So, whoever can find out how it gets filled first is the new number 1. Deal?" Ben, hesitant, asks how they'll get out after dark. Jack confidently assures him they'll simply sneak out. But Ben's nervousness is palpable. "My dad says that if anyone from the village ever did anything bad to the jar, the blessing might go away, and we'd have to learn to agriculture," he explains, clearly worried. Jack dismisses Ben's concerns, accusing him of being a chicken. Ben, defensive, insists he doesn't want to learn agriculture, not even knowing what it is. Jack, however, is determined to solve the mystery of the jar. Ben brings up a rumor from school. Terry says that gargoyles from the mountains fly in each night and fill it, and if they see any little kids or anybody in town, they'll eat their eyes out. Undeterred, Jack declares, "I don't care what Terry from school says. I don't believe anything until I see it for myself with my own 2 eyes." As night falls, we find Jack creeping up to Ben's house window. Inside, Ben's parents are scolding him. "This reckless behavior all started when you started hanging around that Jack kid," Ben's mom exclaims. His father chimes in, expressing disbelief that his son would try to break their sacred town rules. Ben tries to defend himself, explaining they just wanted to see how the jar gets filled. His mother warns, "Some blessings are better left unknown, son. You never would have asked these questions before you started hanging around with that Jack boy." Outside, Jack snickers. "Well, that's probably true. Sorry, Benny, old buddy. Looks like I'm still number 1. He creeps away, leaving Ben to face his parents' disappointment. Later that night, in the empty and dark town square, Jack sneaks towards the giant empty jar. He hides behind some barrels in an open stable, keeping a watchful eye on his surroundings and the jar. Suddenly, the trees around the village start to shake. A giant shadow casts over the jar, and Jack's face contorts with terror as his jaw drops and eyes widen. "What the heck?" he mutters in disbelief. An acne-covered teenage giant rises above the trees, yawning and stretching its long arms into the air. It steps into the town square and picks up the giant empty jar. To Jack's horror and disgust, the giant lifts the jar to its face and starts popping its pimples into it. Thick, buttery oil splashes into the jar, sloshing around at the bottom as zit after zit dumps and sprays in more. The giant moans with pleasure and relief while Jack, still hidden in shadow, gags and dry heaves at the revolting sight. The next day, we return to the town square. The jar is now full of butter, and villagers line up with their empty jars. Ben stands in line with his parents, spotting Jack behind him. Jack looks sick and wobbly, barely holding onto his jar. Ben runs to Jack, ignoring his mother's call to come back. Jack's face is green with nausea. Ben, oblivious to Jack's state, announces, "Jack, I got caught. My parents say I can't play with you anymore." Jack looks at Ben, struggling to hold back his vomit. Concerned, Ben asks, "Jack, are you okay?" Unable to contain it any longer, Jack drops his jar. It smashes on the ground as he begins to vomit violently. Everyone turns to look at the spectacle. As Jack finishes, vomit still on his chin, he looks up at the crowd, the jar, and then at Ben. With a mix of defeat and relief in his voice, Jack says, "Ben, I want you to be number one next time." And so ends the tale of Jack's ill-fated quest to uncover the village's butter blessing, leaving us to ponder the age-old wisdom. Sometimes ignorance truly is bliss. Blackpoint Four. X and Y find themselves in a peculiar situation once again, this time visiting a 1920s Belgian bakery after hours. The scene unfolds as part of episode 3 in the Tales of the Incandescent series. Wait, hold on. Why did I just say that? Oh, I guess that they forgot to edit that part out of the script when they did the prose rewrite. In fact, this whole thing feels kind of mix and match like that. Like past tense and present tense are crossing weight. Where am I going? Well, I can't hang around worrying about things like this. I have a Blackpoint to read. As the bright light fades, the setting materializes. The interior of a 1920s-style Belgian bakery at night. The bakery is empty and closed, shrouded in darkness with all lights turned off. Various details of the establishment come into focus: the counter and registers, bakery cases, and tables for customers, all eerily silent in the midnight hour. Amidst this nocturnal stillness, we find Y, his mouth full of donut, munching away with evident pleasure. Across the table sits X, watching him eat with a look of disgust etched across her face. That one was rather disgusting, to say the least, X remarks, her voice laced with revulsion as she observes Y's enthusiastic consumption. Y, his mouth still full, manages a muffled, in response. X, clearly perplexed by Y's ability to eat after their previous experience, questions, "How are you able to eat after seeing that?" Y swallows his mouthful of donut with a blissful gulp before cheerfully declaring, "Donuts are delicious." Without missing a beat, he shoves another donut towards X, urging, "Here, have one." X declines the offer with a firm, "No thank you," before inquiring about their current location. "Where are we this time? A donut shop?" "A Belgian bakery in the 1920s, Y explains, already shoveling more donut into his mouth. "You really should take advantage of the opportunity." Puzzled by their after-hours presence, X asks, "Why are we here in the middle of the night when the place is closed?" Y, his mouth once again full of donut, casually replies, "Because the light bulb's in here." X's gaze follows Y's indication, panning across the room to spot a giant light bulb standing beside a jukebox in the far corner. Turning back to face Y, who continues to chew contentedly, X inquires, "And what, may I ask, is it that it is plugged into this time?" Y responds with a non-committal shrug, his mouth too full of donut to offer a verbal answer. X stares at him for a moment before slowly rising and cautiously making her way around the room. She follows the wiring on the ground like a trail, taking a walk around the small, dark bakery, while Y continues to chew happily at the table, watching her exploration. X's investigation leads her to a big, old-fashioned vat full of uncooked donut batter. To her surprise and disgust, she notices that the wire extends into the goop within the vat. She gags momentarily, remarking, "God, it looks just like the butter in the last story." Suddenly, Y appears right beside X, startling her. "You gonna pull it?" he asks, causing X to veer away from him in alarm. "How did you get over here so quick?" X exclaims, unnerved by Y's unexpected proximity. You creep." Y laughs off her reaction and picks up a big wooden spoon, proceeding to eat the batter directly from the vat. X gags again at the sight. Just pull the damn plug, X insists, her patience wearing thin. Why? His mouth now full of batter offers one last time. You sure you don't want to try any of this yummy stuff at all first? X, resolute in her decision, grabs the wire herself and yanks it out with a determined, certain. As the plug pops up and out of the vat with a nasty bubble and lumpy mush sound, the scene shifts. Over in the corner, the light bulb suddenly illuminates, along with the jukebox. An eerie melody begins to play the very same tune that Y had been whistling in their previous setting. X, recognizing the familiar sound, observes, "That's the same melody that you were whistling." As Y continues to eat from the vat, seemingly unperturbed by the strange occurrences around them, the bulb's intense light began to take over the entire scene once again, signaling the end of this peculiar episode in their ongoing journey. Normal Mary, Tales of the Incandescent Illumination Number Four. As the bright light fades, our story unfolds in a New York apartment on a quiet night. Mary, a 22-year-old woman, sits comfortably on her couch, enjoying a Netflix show and munching on popcorn. Her laughter fills the room, a picture of contentment. Suddenly, a knock at the front door interrupts her evening. With a slight roll of her eyes, Mary sets down her popcorn and makes her way to the door. She opens it, expecting to see someone, but is greeted by an empty hallway. Puzzled, she looks around before closing the door and returning to her cozy spot on the couch. No sooner has she settled back in than her phone, resting on the coffee table, buzzes with a new text. It's from her sister, Kimmy. "Hey, let me in." Confused, Mary types out a response. "That was you? Lolol. I was so confused. Why did you hide? What are you like, trying to scare me or something, lolol?" Kimmy's reply is immediate and bewildering. "Scare you? You stared at me like I was invisible and slammed the door in my face." Mary stares at the text, eyebrow raised in disbelief. She types back, Kidding, right? You are kidding, right?" Kimmy responds, followed quickly by another text. "Are you gonna let me in or what?" Still confused but shaking it off, Mary hears knocking again. She returns to the door, expecting to see Kimmy this time, but once again, no one is there. She closes the door, only to hear more knocking this time, rapid and furious, as soon as she turns around. Mary swings the door open, but the hallway remains empty, and the knocking ceases. Her confusion grows with each passing moment. She closes the door slowly, and after a brief pause, her cell phone chimes again. Kimmy's latest text reads, "Yo, are you on something or just not want me over anymore tonight and don't know how to say it to my face?" Mary glances back at the door, then at her phone, rereading the text. As she starts to type a response, the knocking returns, startling her. She goes to the door once more, phone in hand, and opens it to find no one there yet again. Leaving the door half open, Mary begins to text. "Okay, I'm not liking this. Let's stop, Lowell." Kimmy's reply is swift. "I'm already in the elevator. IDK, what's wrong with you? But I texted Mom." "What the fuck?" Mary mutters to herself, utterly perplexed. She texts back, "Dude, are you for real?" After another fruitless glance down the hallway, she slowly closes the door and walks back to her couch, constantly looking over her shoulder. The silence is suddenly broken by her ringing phone. It's her mom. "What's wrong with you?" Her mother's voice blares through the speaker. "Your sister is only in town this 1 week and she comes to see you and you act like a nut." Before Mary can respond, her mom continues. "I told her to come back and to make you let her in. We are still a family, damn it." Mary tries to speak, but the knocking returns, interrupting her. She rushes to the door, opens it to find no one there, and closes it again. Her mother's voice still audible from the phone. "You let your sister in this instant," her mom yells. "She said you just did it again. What the hell, Mary?" "Mom, I don't know what's going on," Mary finally manages to say. "She says you just opened the door and slammed it right in her face again. She said you have a crazed look in your eyes and you're holding the phone, which I know you're doing because I'm on the phone with you." "Oh my God, you're on drugs. You're on drugs, aren't you?" her mother accuses. "No, Mom," Mary protests, but the knocking returns, overwhelming her. She drops the phone and screams, swinging the door open once more to an empty hallway. Suddenly, an idea strikes her. She picks up her phone as the knocking resumes and tells her mom, Hey, Mom, I gotta go. I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. Ignoring her mother's confused, "What?" Mary hangs up and immediately dials Kimmy. "Hey, I don't know what's going on, but," Mary says, grabbing the door handle with a smile. "Knock again, Kimmy. Go on, come in." "Honestly, how you're acting right now? I don't know if I should come in," Kimmy's voice replies as knocking resumes both on the phone and at the door. Mary's smile fades as she opens the door to find no one there, yet the knocking continues on the phone while stopping at the door. Closing the door again, Mary hears the knocking on both the phone and the door once more. "Bitch, I'm gonna keep knocking until you open this door back up," Kimmy's voice echoes through the phone. As Culture Club's Karma Chameleon begins to play, we interrupt this scene suddenly to bring you an emergency message from the gods above and below. We do not have the legal rights to play Culture Club's Karma Chameleon. Please hum along the melody to yourself as you continue or just pretend in your head, whatever works for you, you do you. If you do not know the song, then I don't know what to tell you. Look it up. Now back to our scene. Thank you for your time and understanding. And we watch Mary descend into a state of panic. She doesn't know what to say or do as the pounding continues from both the door and the phone. In a frenzy, she starts opening and closing the door repeatedly, driving herself mad with the consistent and inconsistent knocking. The scene fades to black, or, credits, I guess, as Boy George's voice mingles with the chaotic sounds of Mary's inexplicable experience with this glitch in the Matrix, leaving us to wonder about the nature of reality, time, space, perception, and our own general sanity. But boy, Karma Chameleon sure is a great song, right? I love this song. We apologize for not playing the song. Please understand, we do feel really bad about it. We could do a lot more if we had the finances, etc., but you get it. You're cool, you understand. There's copyright issues and stuff. You feel us. Thanks, D-Rock. Bless you for that. Bye.